Hey everyone, thought I'd make a quick video here just to go over how you can set up some bookmarks and what bookmarks are and different types of them. This should be a short video, just want to show you a few different things here. So first and foremost, bookmarks are a way of marking things in space where you are. They save them on your map, they save them in a folder, they can be shared with other people. Super useful to have bookmarks. To access bookmarks, you can press the L button by default, the L button on your keyboard. It'll open this locations window. You can see ones you have saved as well as shared locations in here. You can make bookmarks by pressing Control B. That'll pop up this little new location. This is how you can make a bookmark. When you press Control B and hit submit, it will put a bookmark exactly where your ship is at the time you press submit. So you can see I have one there with the default name Spot. Now, if I want to warp to that, I could. The easy way to see bookmarks that you have is if you go to that L, and if you see at the top here, you have this locations and current system. If you press this little arrow in the corner here, it'll pop out this separate little window, this locations. So you can see I already have mine open on the side of my UI here. You can also see your bookmarks in space through the right-click menu. If you right-click and go to locations, you'll see them in there. So once you have a bookmark, you can warp to it and use it like that. Right now I am 14 kilometers from this one, so I cannot warp to it. But if I was to warp down to this gate here, which is far enough away, then I can come back to it. I made this bookmark with no special name. It's just the default name of Spot. And this is just in my own personal folder for now. But as you can see, I'm now 250 kilometers from that bookmark. So I can right click and warp to it. I could warp to that range as well. So there's a few different types of bookmarks to know about that are important. This one that I've made is what we could call a tack or a perch. Tack being short for tactical. Because this is on grid with this gate, but it is more than 150 kilometers off, I can warp back and forth to this gate. So for example, if you are in nullsec and you think that there might be a bubble on the gate, tacticals can be a great way to get around that. If you think you might do some fighting on the gate, tacticals are great bookmarks for that. Generally, anything that's, let's say, about 200 kilometers or more away from a gate can be a good tactical. You don't want to get much under 200 because there can be some wiggle, and the minimum distance for warping is 150 kilometers. So you could do like 160 kilometers, but you might not be able to always warp to that depending on distance. So 200 kilometers or more is a safe bet to do. You can make multiple around. If you think you're going to be in a fleet fight that's on a gate, it's great to have multiple tacticals so you can warp around to them as a whole. I named this one the default Spot, but I can change the name by right-clicking, and I could change it to Sobaseki, probably spelling that wrong, Sobaseki 250 km tack. Some people like to start their gate tacks with the word tack or perch to make it all obvious. I like putting the gate specifically. So those are a popular one, tactical bookmarks. There are many other types though. So I'm going to warp to a station here. While I'm in warp to this station, I'm going to make a bookmark that we call a safe. Safes are basically any bookmark that is off grid with anything. So right now I'm in the middle of warp. And remember, when I hit submit right now, it just made the bookmark. Not when I hit Control B, but when I hit submit. So if I open my map here, you can see I now have this bookmark that's out in the middle of nowhere. So this is called a safe. It's not the best safe in this case because it's directly from the station to the gate. So if somebody does that same warp, they could, in theory, bookmark the same spot if they have the same warp speed. It's not too likely to happen, but it makes it easy to be found. The best types of safes are ones that are not directly in line with that. So if I warp back to this safe right now, again, I can right click on here, I can right click here, or I can go down to locations here to warp to it. So if I'm at this safe now, and now I warp to something else at an oblique angle. So instead of going directly from something to something, so in this case gate to gate or gate to structure, if I warp over in this direction now, towards this Todeki gate, I can pre-prime this. Again, it doesn't save until I hit submit. If I hit submit right now, this is a very odd angle. It's not directly between either of the gates. It's not between those two. there's a chance somebody in warp could descan me while I'm there, but this is a much safer safe. So safe 1 there, the first safe I made is okay. That works in a pinch. Someone might find you with a little bit of looking, but it's perfectly fine. Safe 2 is a bit more reliable. There's a better type of safe even called a deep safe. A deep safe is a safe that is more than 14 AU off of anything or any path that someone could be on. So it might be something that's out here. Deep safes are trickier to make. Basically, it's either when there's incursions in a system, somebody can warp to those because incursions spawn far out. You can make safes that way. Or there's some tricks you can do with being in an abyssal at downtime to create a deep safe. Deep safes are nice if you're going to be doing a lot of stuff in the same system. For example, if you are doing abyssals in a system, or if you're living in an area, it might be good to have a couple deep safes there. But for general use, you don't really need deep safes. Normal safes like this will work for most things. So those are safes, deep safes, tacticals, perches. We've talked about a few other things that you should know for them is Instadocks and Undocks. So if I warp to this station right now, it's 57 AU, so it's going to take me a second to get there. But if I warp to this station, you'll see when I land, I am not usually able to dock up immediately. Normally when you warp to a station, I didn't hit dock, I just hit warp. But normally when you warp to one, you'll find that sometimes you can land right at the edge of what's called the docking ring. So you can see this kind of blinking lights here. I landed at the edge of that. So if I hit dock right now, my ship actually has to travel a little bit and it doesn't go completely in. This time it looks like I landed at a good angle. I was fine. There are times that you will land at the edge of that and someone is able to shoot you before you actually dock up. This can happen in Jita. This can happen in Nullsec or Pochvin. You'll find station campers in Pochvin a lot, and I've lost ships because I just warped to a station and not to an Instadock. So for an Instadock, you want to be well within that dotted ring. So you can see kind of the dotted ring here. It's quite big. For general safety for an Instadock, people like to generally go as close to the station as they can get. I personally like to do above stations myself. Some people like below. So in this case, if I go right here and I put Insta, and what is this? This is Planet 6, Moon 5. So I might call it that, Instadock P6 Moon 5. So I'm actually a little offset now, but this is a much better one to warp to than the station as a whole. If I warp to this gate and then back to that, you'll see when I come back, I will land well within the docking ring so I can instantly dock up, which is a lot safer. Actually, I'll give you a 2-for-1 trick while I'm here too. A way to very safely dock up is through using locations. So I have an Instadock for this station. I have it set as my destination. So I'm going to warp to the Instadock. While I'm in warp, so once it has started, everything there, I'm going to hit the autopilot. What this does is as soon as I land on grid, this will initiate the docking here. So I land right in the ring of the station, easy to dock up, and my ship will dock up as soon as possible without being shot. This is probably one of the few good uses of the autopilot feature. You know, maybe if you're shuttling in high sec, you can use the autopilot feature, but as a whole, we don't recommend using the autopilot. But using it when you're already in warp to a structure to dock up instantly in that structure is very useful. So what I just did there, warping to an Instadock and having that autopilot set to dock, is a great way to dock up ASAP. It's very, very unlikely you'll get shot there. It's pretty much the safest way to get into a station. Have an Instadock and use that. So there's an Instadock. There's also something we call an Insta Undock. So Insta Undocks are really useful for when you are exiting a station so that you can get off. If you're in a big slow moving ship, you know, if you're in like a 10, 20 second line hauler or something, if you undock right now and you just try to warp to a random gate to go out, your ship will take time to turn. And in that time, you can get caught and shot by your enemies. Insta Undocks are something that is in line with you when you undock so that you can warp to that first with very short align time. So it takes a minute to make an Insta Undock. I'm not in the fastest moving ship here, so I'm going to overheat a little to get further out. basically an Insta Undock. You undock, you turn on your micro warp drive, and you burn out at least 200 kilometers away from the station. So you can see I'm 50 off right now. My micro warp drive is taking a lot of heat damage, so I'm going to stop overheating it. There is a little bit of wiggle when you leave a station. So you can see those kind of yellow lines, the path that you can come out at. I'm kind of going in the middle of these. If you make an Insta Undock very close to the station, you might still get a little bit of a line time. If you go further out, as you get further, that becomes less of an issue. I don't want to sit here and record myself going for 10 minutes out in space, so I'm going to make like maybe 250 kilometer Insta Undock, but you know, ideally, usually with my Insta Undocks, I try to make them like 1,000 kilometers off the station. You can see I'm 175 off right now. I can get ready for this, and I can call this one P6M5 Insta Undock. Some people like to make sure these are at the top of their list for heavily camped stations. So in that case, I have my locations sorted alphabetically. So if I put a special character, like an asterisk or a hashtag in front, this is going to go to the top of my locations list for easy access. Okay, we can see I'm at about 250 kilometers, so I'm going to hit submit when we hit 275 here. That should be an okay distance. So this is basically in line with the undock. Let's warp back to our Instadock now. So when we go to our Instadock, again, my ship's going to turn around, so it's taking a second, but I will land well within the docking ring and I can dock up right away. Don't have to worry about waiting there, landing there, dock. Okay, now here I will undock. Again, you gotta wait for your timers. But yeah, so if this station was camped right now, if there was somebody that might attack me, when you first undock from a station, you have invincibility for a good 10 seconds or so. So when you get out, you take a second to breathe, and you just warp to your Instadock. You can see my trajectory line is almost instantly to it, and look at that, I almost instantly warped. It took me like half a second to align. So having an Insta Undock like that lets you easily get away from a camp station, and then once you're at the Instadock, then you can go and align and warp to wherever else you're going to go. So you're not sitting at risk on the camp station. Insta Undocks, very useful to have. So again, an Insta Dock is something that's within the ring of a station, and an Insta Undock is one at least 200 kilometers off in line with the undock, so you can warp to it. Very good to have an Insta Undock in Jita, for example. The Jita Undock gets camped a lot, especially by people that like to war deck other corps, so it's very useful to have an Insta Undock there. We talked about safes, we talked about deep safes, we talked about tacticals. A few other important things to know. Bookmarking, very important for wormholers. When you scan something down, you can actually bookmark by right-clicking and save location here. I'm going to tell you right now, do not do this for wormholes. This is good to do for data sites or relic sites or anything. But if I bookmark the wormhole from here, like that, I can warp now by right-clicking here or from my bookmark. But when you bookmark a wormhole from here, there's a little bit of jitter to it. It doesn't actually bookmark the wormhole itself. So when I warp to this, I'm going to land 5 to 10 kilometers off the hole. Not a big deal because I'm in high sec and I'm in a small ship. But if you're hauling or if you're in something important, that is actually risky to not land directly on the hole. So yeah. In Pochman, this is even worse. In Pochman, you can do like 80 to 100 kilometers off. So we see I landed, almost 10 kilometers off the hole, so a little dangerous. The proper way to bookmark wormholes is you warp to it like this, and then when you're here, you right-click on the wormhole itself, and you bookmark it. Wormhole proper, I'll call that. Yeah, so that puts the bookmark directly on the wormhole. Much better to do it this way than bookmarking from your probe scanner. Don't bookmark wormholes from the probe scanner, bookmark them from the grid. Other things that are useful, if you are someone that is running combat sites, it's good to bookmark the sites that you're at, just in case you need to come back to them. If you are running combat sites and you're dropping an MTU, a mobile tractor unit, always bookmark your MTUs. It is so easy to forget to scoop them. So yeah, when you deploy an MTU, You just find it in your overview, you right click, and you can save location. You can also do this from the radial menu if you're a radial menu gamer. If you left click and hold, there's one somewhere in here that you can do. Yeah, the save location. Yeah, bookmark your MTUs, bookmark your sites that you're running, bookmark where wrecks are that you want to loot or salvage, bookmark wormholes, safes, tacticals. I could make tacticals right now for this wormhole. Maybe I'm in a wormhole group and we're doing some fighting on either sides of this wormhole, or we just want to have eyes on it. So it'd be good to have some tacticals. So I'm going to make some tacticals for this right now. Turn on my micro warp drive. And again, tacticals, you want to be at least 160 plus kilometers away. Aim for 200. So I'm going to call this wormhole tac. This wormhole sig is IQW, so I might even include that. A couple other things to note while I have this open. You can see there are expiries for wormhole or for bookmarks. These can be very useful, especially again for wormhole people. If you are someone who's going through wormhole chains, you know wormholes disappear, so it's good to do 2-day expiries for those. If you're just doing something quick, you can do 3-day or 3-hour expiries. You know, if you're in an area that you're just moving through, you're going to fight in for 10 minutes and then you're leaving, 3 hours are perfectly fine. These are especially important for shared ones, which we'll talk about in a second. For personal bookmarks, for Instadocks, Insta Undocks, for safes, I usually set mine to never expire because I like to keep these and have them handy in systems. But yeah, using the expiry ones is good to keep your bookmark folder clean so you don't end up with thousands of useless ones. Okay, we can see I'm about 200 from this wormhole here, so I'm just going to make this tactical there. Wonderful. I could now switch my angle. I could make one above it, for example. That one I just made was to the east. I could make one above it, below, make lots of different tacks or perches. These are very useful to have again. So some of the best use of bookmarks is shared bookmarks. Shared bookmarks are so helpful. You can access them if you press L in the shared locations. When you start playing, there'll be none here. These are ones people have to link to. The big popular one is Eve Scout. So the Eve Scout bookmark folder, you can find this in their channel. If you just ask almost anyone, they can link this folder for you as well, because most people have this one shared. So if you see somebody link a bookmark folder, you can just click on it, and when it pops up, it'll look like this. You'll see a bunch of info. Don't worry too much about this info for now. We're not going to talk about the ACLs and stuff in this video, but basically you can have 3 different shared folders online at any time. When you press L, you can see your ones that you have. For example, here I have 6 shared folders on this character. 3 are offline and 3 are online. So when you click on one, you can just click online. This one's already online, so the button says offline. When you look at them, you can look in and see all these bookmarks that other people have made and shared with you. If you want to learn more about the Eve Scout Thera one, you can watch my Thera video that goes over what that one is, but I have some other Corp ones that my Corp has made for easy access. These let us share different things, like we have some shared safes or shared Instadocks, Undocks, or wormhole routes. If you want to make your own to have with your alts, you can do that as well right in this menu. And when you press L, again, down here, you can see create folder and create subfolder. If you go to create folder, there's personal or shared. Again, I'm not going to get into ACLs here. Basically, ACLs are access lists that let you decide who can do what. You can find these by going to social and then access lists. But that just means who can edit or who can view these. If you want to just have your own bookmarks for organizing, you can. I personally haven't done that on this character. I just have default, but you can make subfolders of your own and folders. You can have shared ones. You can link these to people in chat. So if I wanted someone to have this one, I could just link it there and they would have access to that. They might not be able to actually online it, depending on if they're on that access list or not. But yeah, you can have 3 folders online at any time. If I wanted to turn on one of these other ones, I would have to right click one and hit offline. It then goes to my offline folder, easy to get to any other time. So then I can online this one, and now I have this one online. You can move your bookmarks between folders as well. So if I want to share this Insta Undock I just made with everybody, I can just drag it down. Now, if you drag a bookmark by itself, it moves it. So if I just drag this Instadock and put this in the NPSI folder, it is now gone from my personal folder. It is gone. I have lost it. So that's a one-way move. You can see I still have access to it here in my bookmarks because I have that shared folder online. It now shows us that. If you want to copy, so not lose it, but just copy it, what you want to do is hold Shift when you click and drag. You see now the icon's changed a little as I'm dragging it because I'm holding the Shift key. Now if I drag it down to that NPSI folder, it goes in there and it stayed up here. And you can see now it shows up twice in my list. So I have it here twice because once is in my folder, once is in that one. Again, that is you hold Shift when you drag. People copying bookmarks wrong is a issue we run into a lot. It happens. If it happens to you, don't worry too much about it. You can always copy things back. But yeah, remember to hold Shift when you're copying things so you don't accidentally delete other people's bookmarks or steal them. There. I could probably not copy something into this Eve Scout Hubs one because I do not have access to that as someone who can edit it. We'll try that right now and you'll see nothing will happen. So I take this Instadock and try to put it in there. Yeah, it says I don't have access because I'm not on that access list for that one. I can only view it. Okay, so if we look here, again, I am now 600 kilometers off from this wormhole, so I can make another tack here, right? So I could say IQW wormhole tack 2. You can make your names more descriptive depending on how you do it. I've seen some people that all their bookmark folders just end up filled with 1111 or 2222 just because they're in such a hurry when they're bookmarking. You can always right click and change things. So in this case, if we want to fight this wormhole, we now have 2 good tacticals. So we can warp between the wormhole itself and these tacticals. You can warp to bookmarks at range. So if you right click on them, well, I can't now because I'm in warp, but if you right click, you can do that. Yeah, so here I am at the wormhole itself. If I want to go back to that tactical above or that tactical to the side, I can right click and warp to them that range. Okay, this video went a little longer than I expected. Just very quick, I want to summarize again the types of bookmarks. Tacticals or perches, you will hear both terms used. Tacticals or perches are on grid with something, but they're at least 200 kilometers away so that you can warp between them. Tactical or perch is on there. A safe is off grid. A safe is somewhere where there is nothing else around. So a safe is a spot where your ships are generally safe. You can still be combat probe down. So people can still bring a combat probe and find you on a safe. They're not always guaranteed safe forever, but they're safe for a little bit. A deep safe is a safe that is outside the warp range of anything. So a deep safe could be somewhere out here where my mouse is, or out here where someone's not going to find you when they're just warping around. They'd have to combat probe you down. An Instadock. An Instadock is right at a station and it is within the docking ring. And an Insta Undock is in line with the undock from the station. So when you undock, you can warp to it right away. Remember to bookmark your MTUs when you're at them. Remember to bookmark wormholes. If you're going in and out of wormholes, always bookmark both sides of the wormhole. Yeah. To bookmark things, again, you can right click on them and save location. You can use your radial menu and you can bookmark from here. When you're bookmarking, you can choose which of your folders to bookmark into. You can choose an expiry to automatically expire or not. If you do set something to expire and you change your mind, you can right click on it, go to edit, and there is a cancel expiry, and that will make it a permanent bookmark then with no expiry. Yeah, again, press L to open, click on that little opening window to launch it there. And I hope that is all of it for the basics of bookmarks. If you've got any questions, feel free to reach out and yeah, we can help get you sorted. And thank you for watching.